The Harborview Country Club's terrace overlooked the Atlantic, and the September sunset painted everything gold. Dad's 65th birthday party was in full swing. White-clothed tables held elaborate floral arrangements, and a jazz quartet played near the bar. I stood by the railing, watching sailboats dot the horizon, champagne flute in hand. My sister Victoria approached with her usual confident stride, her designer heels clicking against the marble. At 38, she'd perfected the art of looking expensive. Her auburn hair was styled in loose waves, and her emerald cocktail dress probably cost more than my monthly rent, or so she thought. "Emily, you actually came," she said, her tone carrying that familiar mix of surprise and condescension. "I told Dad you'd probably skip. You know, with your situation, my situation, code for being the family disappointment." At 35, I hadn't married a doctor or lawyer. I drove a 10-year-old Honda instead of a Mercedes. I wore off-the-rack dresses to family events. I worked as a freelance graphic designer from a modest apartment in a middle-class neighborhood. "Wouldn't miss Dad's birthday," I said simply, taking another sip of champagne. Victoria's husband Marcus joined us. He worked in finance and never let anyone forget it. "Emily, still doing the computer art thing? Graphic design?" "Yes, cute." He checked his Rolex. "Victoria's really moving up in commercial real estate. Just closed a $12 million waterfront development deal." "Congratulations," I said, meaning it. Victoria was good at her job, even if she was insufferable about it. My younger brother Jason appeared with his wife Melissa. At 32, Jason had followed Dad into the construction business. He clapped Marcus on the shoulder. "Heard Vicky's got big news tonight. About the beach house." My chest tightened, but I kept my expression neutral. The beach house. Our childhood summer home in Seabrook, 2 hours north. White clapboard siding, wraparound porch, private beach access. I'd learned to swim there. Had my first kiss on that porch. Spent every summer until college in that house. "She's inheriting it," Melissa said, lowering her voice conspiratorially. "Your dad's finally putting it in her name." "Smart move, honestly. Victoria can handle that kind of asset." I nodded slowly, watching the boats. "You okay with that?" Jason asked, and I couldn't tell if he was being genuine or testing me. "I mean, I know you loved that place as a kid." "It's Dad's decision," I said. "Well, yeah, but..." Jason shifted uncomfortably. "You know Dad, he's practical. Victoria's got the business sense. You're more of a creative type." Creative type. Another way of saying irresponsible, flighty, not capable of managing real assets. The birthday dinner was called, and we moved to the reserved private dining room. 50 guests filled the space. Extended family, Dad's business associates, country club friends. Dad sat at the head of the table, looking distinguished in his navy suit. Mom had passed away 6 years ago, and he'd thrown himself into work and social status ever since. During the main course, filet mignon with roasted vegetables, Dad stood and tapped his wine glass. The room quieted. "Thank you all for celebrating with me tonight," he began. 65 years. Never thought I'd see the day. Polite laughter rippled through the room. "I've been blessed with a successful business, wonderful friends, and 3 children who've made me proud in their own ways." In their own ways. I'd learned to decode that phrase years ago. As I enter this new phase of life, I've been thinking about legacy. About ensuring the family assets are handled responsibly. He smiled at Victoria. "Which is why I want to make an announcement tonight. The beach house in Seabrook, the property my father built in 1962, where my children spent their summers, I'm transferring it to Victoria." The room erupted in applause. Victoria stood, beaming, accepting congratulations from nearby guests. Marcus kissed her cheek. Jason raised his glass in a toast. I remained seated, fork poised over my plate. "Victoria has demonstrated the financial acumen and business sense to manage such a valuable asset," Dad continued. "The property is worth approximately $4 million given current oceanfront market values. I know she'll handle it with the same excellence she brings to her professional life." More applause. Victoria was crying now, happy tears, dabbing at her eyes with her napkin. She stood and hugged Dad, whispering something in his ear that made him laugh. "Thank you, Daddy," she said, loudly enough for everyone to hear. "I promised to take care of it, to honor Mom's memory and keep it in the family." People were standing now, coming over to congratulate her. I took another bite of my steak. It was cooked perfectly, but I barely tasted it. Victoria's business partner, a woman named Diane, approached our end of the table. "Victoria, this is incredible. Oceanfront Seabrook properties are selling for top dollar right now." "I know," Victoria said, her voice carrying across the room. Actually, I have more news. She pulled out her phone, scrolling through something. I've been doing some research. The market is perfect right now. I'm listing it tomorrow. The celebration paused. Dad's smile faltered slightly. Listing it, selling it, Daddy. I already have interested buyers. 3 different parties have inquired about Seabrook oceanfront properties through my firm in the past month alone. Victoria's eyes shone with excitement. We could get 4.2, maybe 4.5 million. The property needs updates. The kitchen is from the 90s. The bathrooms are outdated. A buyer would likely tear it down and rebuild. My Aunt Carol gasped. Tear it down. But that house has been in the family for 63 years. I know, Victoria interrupted, but sentimentality doesn't pay property taxes or maintenance costs. This is a smart business decision. The property has appreciated incredibly. Selling now, at market peak, is the financially sound choice. I set down my fork carefully. Dad looked uncertain. I assumed you'd keep it, use it with your family, like we did. Dad, Marcus and I vacation in the Hamptons. And Europe. Seabrook is lovely, but it's not really our style anymore. Victoria pulled up something else on her phone. Look, I've already drafted preliminary listing details. Professional photos are scheduled for Monday. I'm thinking we go to market next week. Jason leaned forward. Vicky, that seems fast. That's how real estate works, Jason. You strike when the market's hot. She showed her phone to nearby guests. See, I've got the comparables here. Similar properties have sold for between 3.8 and 4.6 million in the past 8 months. Marcus nodded approvingly. Victoria's right. Emotional attachment to property is how families lose money. This is a valuable asset that should be liquidated, while the market favors sellers. I reached for my champagne glass, took a long sip. Diane was looking at Victoria's phone now. These comps are solid. You could definitely get 4.2, maybe more if we get multiple offers and create a bidding war. Exactly. Victoria was in full business mode now. The tearful daughter replaced by the commercial realtor. I'm thinking we price it at 4.3. Leave room for negotiation but signal that we know the value. Dad still looked uncomfortable, but several guests were congratulating Victoria on her business savvy. Someone mentioned that keeping old properties was just throwing money away on maintenance. Another person talked about maximizing asset value. My cousin Brad raised his glass to Victoria, making smart financial decisions and building generational wealth. The room echoed the toast. Glasses clinked. Victoria was radiant. I'm so glad you all understand, she said. I was worried people would be upset, but this is really the right move. The property has served its purpose. Now it's time to convert it to liquid capital that can actually grow. Aunt Carol still looked sad. But all those memories. We'll always have the memories. Aunt Carol, Victoria said gently, though her tone was patronizing. The house is just wood and nails. What matters is what we carry in our hearts. I almost laughed at that. The house was just wood and nails to Victoria, because she'd spent the last 15 years summering in Martha's Vineyard in Nantucket. She'd outgrown Seabrook around the time she married Marcus. But to me, that house was every birthday from age 5 to 17. It was Mom teaching me to make her famous blueberry pie in that outdated kitchen. It was Dad showing me how to identify constellations from the beach. It was Jason and me building elaborate sand castles. It was where we scattered Mom's ashes 6 years ago, in the water she'd loved. Emily, you're being awfully quiet, Victoria said suddenly, and I realized the room's attention had shifted to me. What do you think? I met her eyes. It's your property, your decision. But you grew up there too. Don't you have, I don't know, feelings about it? Several guests were watching now, waiting for me to break down, to beg, to make a scene. I have a lot of feelings about the house, I said calmly, but that doesn't change anything. Victoria's expression softened into something that looked like pity. I know you probably hoped Dad would give it to you, but Emily honey, you have to understand, a $4 million property requires significant financial management. Property taxes alone are over $30,000 a year. Then there's insurance, maintenance, utilities for a place that size. It's not practical for someone in your position. Someone in my position. I took another sip of champagne. Victoria's right, Dad said, though he avoided my eyes. I know you loved that house, Emmy. But love doesn't pay the bills. Victoria and Marcus can handle the financial responsibility. You're doing fine with your design work, but this kind of asset, I understand, I said. Jason shifted uncomfortably. Look, we all have good memories of the place, but Vicky's the oldest. She's the one with the real estate expertise. And Dad made his choice. We should support that. Melissa nodded. Maybe Victoria will let you visit before she sells it, for closure. Victoria brightened at that. Of course, Emily, you should absolutely come up one last time. Take photos, collect any personal items you might want. I'm planning to have the estate sale company come through next month to clear out the furniture, but you're welcome to claim anything sentimental. The conversation moved on. Dessert was served, elaborate 3-tier birthday cake. The jazz quartet played Happy Birthday. Dad blew out candles. I excused myself to the terrace, needing air. The sun had set fully now, and the ocean was dark except for scattered boat lights. I leaned against the railing, the champagne glass cool in my hand. You're taking this well, Jason said, appearing beside me. What choice do I have? He was quiet for a moment. For what it's worth, I'm sorry. I know how much that place meant to you. Means. Present tense. Right. Means. He looked uncomfortable. Did you expect Dad to give it to you? I almost laughed. No, I knew exactly who he'd give it to. Victoria's not wrong though. About the finances. That house is expensive to maintain. I know, and she is good at real estate. If anyone can get top dollar, Jason. I turned to face him. You don't have to convince me. I'm not going to make a scene. I'm not going to cry, or beg, or guilt trip Dad. Victoria got the house. She's going to sell it. Life goes on. He studied my face. You're really okay. I'm really fine. He didn't believe me, but he dropped it. We stood in silence, watching the dark water. My phone buzzed in my clutch purse. I pulled it out, saw the caller ID. Davidson and Associates, Property Law. My attorney. I glanced back through the glass doors. Inside, Victoria was showing her phone to a cluster of guests, probably her listing details. Dad was cutting the cake. Marcus was talking to someone about investment strategies. I answered the phone, pressing the speaker button before I could second-guess myself. Hello, Miss Emily Davidson. The voice was crisp, professional, female, speaking. This is Jennifer Park, from Davidson and Associates. I apologize for calling on a Saturday evening, but we received an unusual inquiry this afternoon regarding the Seabrook oceanfront property at 47 Lighthouse Road. Jason frowned, confused. What kind of inquiry? I asked, my voice carrying. Inside, several heads turned toward the terrace. A listing inquiry, Jennifer said. Someone claiming to represent the property owner contacted the Seabrook assessor's office this afternoon, requesting tax documentation for the purposes of a real estate listing. The assessor's office flagged it, because the property is not held in the name they provided. Victoria appeared in the doorway, her expression curious. Emily, what's going on? I didn't answer her. And what name is the property currently held in? According to county records, the oceanfront deed for 47 Lighthouse Road has been in your name since September 2019. 3 years this month, actually. The property was transferred from Robert Davidson, your father, to you via private sale on September 13, 2019, for the sum of $1, with additional financial considerations outlined in a separate private agreement. The terrace was silent. Victoria stepped forward slowly. There must be a mistake. The property taxes have been paid quarterly, by your designated account, Jennifer continued, unaware of the gathering crowd behind me. The insurance is current. There are no liens or encumbrances. The title is clear, and in your sole name. Dad pushed through the small crowd that had formed. Let me see that phone. I held it up so everyone could hear. This is Robert Davidson. Who am I speaking with? Jennifer Park, senior partner at Davidson and Associates Property Law. And you are? I'm her father, and I own that Seabrook property. Sir, I'm looking at the county deed records right now. The property was sold to Emily Davidson in September 2019. The transaction was recorded with the Norfolk County Registry of Deeds. Your name appears on the historical chain of title, but you are not the current owner. Victoria's face had gone pale. Daddy, what is she talking about? Dad's hand shook slightly. We had an arrangement. What arrangement? Victoria's voice rose. I finally spoke. I bought the house 3 years ago. The terrace erupted. That's impossible, Victoria said. You don't have $4 million. I didn't pay $4 million. I paid what Dad needed to settle his debts. Dad's face flushed. Emily, this isn't the time. You made it the time, I said calmly, when you announced you were giving Victoria a house you don't own. Jason stepped forward. What debts? Dad, what is she talking about? I looked at my father. At 65, he looked older than his years in this moment. The successful businessman mask was cracking. Tell them, I said quietly, or I will. Dad's shoulders sagged. The entire party had spilled onto the terrace. Now, a crowd of well-dressed guests, watching a family implosion. In 2019, Dad said slowly. The business was struggling. The recession had delayed several major contracts. I had made some investments that didn't pan out. I was overextended. Marcus leaned forward. How overextended? I was facing foreclosure on 3 properties, including the beach house. The bank was going to seize them within 60 days. Victoria grabbed the terrace railing. Why didn't you tell me? I could have helped. Could have. I did tell you, Dad said quietly. You were closing on your house in Newton. You said you didn't have liquid capital available. Jason was just starting with the business, drowning in student loans. But Emily, he looked at me. Emily came to me with a solution. All eyes turned to me. I had been saving, I said simply, living below my means, investing carefully. Freelance graphic design actually pays well when you're good at it, and you manage your money properly. How much? Victoria whispered. I paid $750,000 for the beach house, which was below market value, but Dad needed cash immediately. I paid another $200,000 to settle his business debts and prevent the other foreclosures. Gasps rippled through the crowd. The arrangement, I continued, was that Dad could continue using the house whenever he wanted. The family could continue having gatherings there. He would tell everyone he still owned it because he was embarrassed about needing his daughter to bail him out. And in exchange for saving his other properties and business, I got the house in my name. Clear title. Jason was staring at Dad. You let me think you were flush. You advised me on my investments. You critiqued my financial decisions. And the whole time, I was ashamed. Dad said hoarsely. I had built this image. Successful contractor, smart businessman, pillar of the community. How could I admit I'd lost almost everything? Victoria's phone slipped from her hand, clattering on the marble. But you just told everyone you were giving it to me. You announced it to 50 people. I told my business partner. I contacted photographers. I contacted photographers. I contacted photographers. Our voice broke. I've already sent preliminary listing information to 3 buyers. Jennifer Park's voice came from my phone speaker. If you've attempted to list a property you don't own, that's a serious ethics violation for a licensed realtor, Miss Davidson. The Massachusetts Real Estate Board takes fraudulent listings very seriously. Victoria looked like she might faint. Marcus grabbed her arm to steady her. I didn't know, Victoria said desperately. I thought it was Dad's property. He told me he was giving it to me. I thought I still owned it. Dad said weakly. I mean, we had the arrangement. Emily let me use it. I forgot. I didn't think. You didn't think it was really mine? I finished for him. You thought of it as a loan, a temporary thing, that eventually you'd pay me back and it would revert to you. He didn't deny it, but that's not how property ownership works, I said. I have the deed, my name is on the title. I pay the taxes, I pay the insurance. I own it. Aunt Carol was crying quietly. Other guests looked shocked, uncomfortable, fascinated. Brad, my cousin, pulled out his own phone. She's right. I'm looking at the Norfolk County property records right now. Emily Davidson, sole owner. Deed recorded September 2019. Purchase price, holy shit, $750,000. How? Victoria demanded. How did you have that kind of money? You drive a Honda. You live in a 1-bedroom apartment. You shop at Target. I drive a paid-off Honda. I live in a 1-bedroom apartment that costs $1,500 a month instead of the $4,000 you pay for your place in Newton. I shop at Target because I don't need to prove my worth with designer labels. I pulled up my own phone, opened my banking app, and turned the screen toward her. I've been maxing out my retirement accounts since I was 25. I've been investing in index funds. I started my graphic design business with $5,000 and built it to the point where I gross $400,000 a year. I have 7 clients who pay me retainer fees of $3,000 to $6,000 monthly. Victoria stared at the account balances. I bought a duplex in Cambridge 3 years ago. I continued. Rent from the tenant covers the mortgage and generates passive income. I own this apartment building Dad's standing in front of. Dad's head snapped up. What? The building your apartment is in, Victoria. The one you pay $3,000 a month for. I bought the building 2 years ago. You've been paying rent to me. Victoria's knees buckled. Marcus helped her to a chair. I also own a small commercial property in downtown Boston that houses 4 retail tenants, I said, my voice still calm, and a vacation rental in Vermont that generates about $40,000 a year. My total real estate portfolio is worth approximately $8.3 million. My investment accounts hold another $3.2 million. I'm what you'd call financially comfortable. The terrace was absolutely silent, except for the sound of waves. Jason found his voice first. Why? Why didn't you tell us? Because I learned early that in this family, money equals power equals voice. If I'd flaunted my success, you would have expected things from me. Loans that wouldn't be repaid. Investment advice. Funding for your ventures. This way I could live my life, build my wealth, and avoid becoming the family bank. But you bailed out Dad, Melissa pointed out, because the beach house mattered to me, and because despite everything, I love my father. But I didn't bail him out for free. I bought assets, I made business decisions. Dad sank into a chair. He looked devastated, which surprised me. I'd expected anger. All this time, he said softly, I thought I was protecting you by giving the house to Victoria. I thought you couldn't handle it. I thought you needed me to make responsible choices for you. You thought I was weak, flighty, irresponsible, just like you've thought for the past 35 years. I thought I was being a good father. You were being a prejudiced father. You saw Victoria's expensive lifestyle and assumed success. You saw my modest lifestyle and assumed failure. You never bothered to look deeper. Victoria had her face in her hands. My career. If this gets out, if the real estate board investigates, I could lose my license. You won't lose your license, I said. I'm not reporting you. This was Dad's mistake, not yours. Though you might want to contact those 3 buyers and let them know the property is no longer available. She looked up, mascara running. You're keeping it? Of course I'm keeping it. It's my house. I bought it specifically because I love it and didn't want it sold to strangers who'd tear it down. So all of this, Marcus said slowly, all of this success you hid it, on purpose. I didn't hide it, I just didn't advertise it. There's a difference. If any of you had ever asked about my business instead of making assumptions about my life, I would have told you. But you never asked. You just decided who I was and what I was capable of. Jennifer Park's voice came through the phone again. Miss Davidson, do you need anything else from me this evening? No, Jennifer. Thank you for the information. We'll talk Monday about the listing inquiry and how to prevent future attempts. Of course, have a good evening. I ended the call. The party was effectively over. Guests made awkward excuses and filtered out in clusters, whispering to each other. I heard phrases like, can you believe it, and all this time, and that poor girl. Within 20 minutes, only family remained on the terrace. Dad, Victoria, Marcus, Jason, Melissa, Aunt Carol, and Uncle Tom. What happens now? Jason asked. Now nothing changes, I said. The house is mine. It's been mine. It will continue to be mine. You're all still welcome to use it, same as the past 3 years. I've never prevented anyone from visiting. You're not going to sell it? Victoria asked quietly. Why would I sell it? I bought it because I wanted to keep it. The whole point was preservation. Dad stood slowly. I owe you an apology, Emmy. A profound one. I've spent your entire life underestimating you, dismissing you. Tonight, I tried to give away something that was yours, and I humiliated you in front of 50 people. You humiliated yourself. I corrected gently. I'm fine. How can you be fine? I've been a terrible father. You've been a flawed father. There's a difference. You're proud, stubborn, and you make assumptions, but you also taught me to swim, helped me with my math homework, and told me I could be anything I wanted. You just forgot that last part somewhere along the way. He wiped at his eyes. Victoria approached slowly. I've been awful to you. For years. The comments about your car, your apartment, your clothes. God, Emily. I've been such a bitch. Yes, you have. She laughed wetly. I don't deserve forgiveness. Probably not, but I'm not particularly interested in holding grudges. They're exhausting. Can I ask why you bought my apartment building? It was a good investment. Beacon Hill properties have excellent appreciation rates. That it happened to be your building was coincidental. You could have raised my rent, evicted me, made my life hell. I could have. But that's not who I am. I charge you market rate, maintain the property properly, and treat you like any other tenant. Your lease is solid. Your unit is well maintained. That's business. Marcus spoke for the first time in several minutes. I've been advising Victoria to be more aggressive with you, to assert dominance, to remind you of your place in the family hierarchy. I need to apologize for that. Apology noted. Jason stepped forward. I want to understand. You saved Dad's business, bought the beach house, built a real estate portfolio worth millions, and you did it all while we mocked you, essentially. Why? Why save Dad if we treated you so poorly? Because family is complicated. Because despite the condescension and dismissal, I still love you all. Because Mom would have wanted me to help if I could. Because the beach house holds memories I wasn't ready to lose. I paused. And because I could afford to. When you have resources and someone you love needs help, you help, even if they don't respect you, even if they wouldn't do the same for you. Aunt Carol was crying openly now. You're a better person than any of us. I'm just a person who made different choices. You all chose to display your success. I chose to hide mine. Neither approach is inherently better. But we judged you, Uncle Tom said. We all did, every family gathering, every holiday, we pitied you. I know, I let you. It was easier than dealing with expectations. The wind picked up, carrying the salt smell of the ocean. Somewhere in the distance, a foghorn sounded. What do you need from us? Dad asked finally. How do we make this right? You can start by seeing me, actually seeing me, not who you think I am, or who you want me to be, but who I actually am. I'd like to try, he said. Me too, Victoria added. Jason nodded. Same. Then we'll figure it out, but slowly. Trust takes time to rebuild. We stood in silence, the weight of revelations settling over us. For what it's worth, Victoria said eventually. I really did love that house. I was lying earlier when I said it wasn't my style. I thought selling it was what successful people did. Liquidate assets, maximize returns. Marcus is always talking about not letting emotion cloud business judgment. The beach house isn't just business, I said. It's where Mom taught us to make pie, where we scattered her ashes. Some things are worth more than their market value. She nodded, tears streaming again. Can I still visit? Like actually visit, not just before it's sold. Of course. It's the family house. Your family. Even after everything I said. Everything I did. You're still my sister. You're still family. This doesn't change that. Marcus checked his watch. We should probably go. Let everyone process. As people gathered belongings and said awkward goodbyes, Dad lingered. Your mother would be proud of you, he said quietly. She always said you were the strongest of the three. I never understood what she meant until tonight. She meant I don't need external validation to know my worth. I wish I'd learned that lesson earlier. Before I wasted years underestimating my own daughter. You can learn it now. It's not too late. He hugged me, something he hadn't done in years. Thank you. For saving the business. For keeping the house. For being better than I deserved. After everyone left, I stayed on the terrace alone. The country club staff was cleaning up inside. The party definitely over. My phone buzzed. A text from Victoria. Just contacted the 3 buyers. Told them the property isn't available. Also contacted the photographer to cancel. I'm so sorry, Em. I typed back. I know. We'll talk soon. Another text, from Jason. Can we have coffee this week? I want to hear about your business. Actually hear about it, not just make assumptions. I'd like that, I replied. A final text, from Dad. I changed my will tonight. Everything split 3 ways. Equal shares. No more assumptions about who can handle what. You've more than proven yourself. I smiled at that. Thank you. But I don't need your money, Dad. I need your respect. You have it. Finally you have it. I looked out at the dark ocean, thinking about the beach house 2 hours north. The white clapboard siding. The wraparound porch. The private beach where Mom's ashes had scattered on the wind. Tomorrow I'd drive up there. Walk through the rooms. Make sure everything was maintained properly. Maybe I'd spend the night in my childhood bedroom, listening to the waves through the open window. The house was mine, had been mine for 3 years, would be mine for as long as I wanted it. And nobody, not Dad, Not Victoria, not anyone, could take that away. I finished my champagne, set the glass on the railing, and walked back through the empty party room. The birthday cake sat half-eaten on the table. Wilted flowers drooped in their vases. Champagne glasses littered every surface. It had been quite a party. As I drove home in my paid-off Honda, I thought about the past 3 years. The secret ownership. The quiet satisfaction of knowing something nobody else knew. The weight of watching my family underestimate me again and again. And I thought about what came next. Rebuilding relationships. Establishing new dynamics. Being seen finally, for who I actually was. It wouldn't be easy. Years of condescension don't evaporate overnight. But tonight had cracked something open. A possibility. A chance. My phone rang. Victoria. I can't sleep, she said when I answered. I keep thinking about everything I said. Everything I assumed. It's late, Vic. I know. Can I ask you something? Sure. When you bought the house, when you saved Dad's business, did you hate us for how we treated you? I thought about that. No, I pitied you sometimes. You were all so busy performing success that you forgot to actually build it. But I never hated you. I would have hated me. You're not me. She was quiet for a moment. The apartment building, my rent. Have you been giving me a discount? No, market rate, like I said. So I could have been living somewhere cheaper this whole time, if I'd made different choices. Yes, God, I'm an idiot. You're not an idiot. You're someone who values appearance over substance. Lots of people do. It's not a character flaw, just a different priority system. It feels like a character flaw tonight. Tonight's been hard on everyone. Another pause. Can I come to the beach house with you sometime soon? I want to remember it the way it was. Before I tried to sell it. Before I knew it wasn't mine to sell. Sure, next weekend if you want. I'd like that. Her voice cracked. Thank you, Em, for everything. For being better than us. I'm not better. I'm just different. After we hung up, I drove in silence, watching streetlights flash past. The night had been surreal, cathartic, painful, necessary. By the time I reached my apartment, my modest, perfect, paid-for apartment, it was nearly midnight. I changed into pajamas, made tea, and sat by the window. My phone buzzed one more time. A text from Mom's old number, which Dad still kept active. Your mother would have loved tonight. Not the drama, but the truth. She always said the truth would set you free. I'm starting to understand what she meant. Sleep well, Emmy. Tomorrow we start over. Dad. I smiled, sipped my tea, and looked out at the city lights. Tomorrow we'd start over, but tonight I'd simply sit with the satisfaction of being finally, fully, completely seen. The beach house was mine. My success was mine. My truth was mine. And nobody could take any of it away.